Good evening, folks. It's Lisa Ziegler coming to you here from my little urban flower farm here in southeastern Virginia. And we're meeting again here on Sunday evening for our home cutting garden tutorial continuation. I'm going to lower this just a little bit. So I'm really excited to talk to you tonight because we have some more flowers to cut, and I have a great lesson to share with you tonight about just how essential it is to have a habit of cutting on a regular basis, and we have some great examples of what happens when you don't cut on a regular basis, right? So I have several things that I want to talk to you about. So first and foremost, you know, we have this big seed sale going. It's not a seed sale. I'm paying the shipping on seeds for the month of July, and we are just overrun with seed orders, and we thank you all so much. It's exactly why we did it. We wanted people to try things that maybe they were thinking, oh shoot, I'm not going to do it. But if you don't have to pay the shipping, it's on me. People are taking advantage of that. And also, we have a couple other specials I'm going to tell you about. Our silage tarps are 20% off, and that goes off tonight at midnight. And we have sold a boatload of them, actually a pallet, and we have more available. Once they're gone, if we sell out before the end of the sale, we will end it. But anyway, the silage tarps are still on, and I actually put the link to that on this Facebook feed. So you'll find it there, and our seeds are free shipping on just seeds, no other products. And then the other thing, the reason that I put the silage tarp on sale was this is the no-till season, y'all. You know that I'm a newbie to no-till, just kind of really dove into it deep last year. And then Jonathan and Megan Lease did this awesome no-till, let's see what the name of it is, the no-till micro-scale flower farm course for us. We published it for them, and I just learned so much, the practical application, right? When you see what other people do and hear them talk through it. Anyway, it just helped me turn the corner on it. So we have put the no-till course, $40 off. You can find it on our website, as well as the silage tarp. Because if you're ever even thinking about it, whether you're a home gardener or a farmer, now is the time. In the heat of the summer is when those silage tarps just do amazing work with you doing nothing, y'all. I mean, I just can't tell you how reassuring it is to know that that silage tarp is out there killing either the cover crop that I put it on, or some weeds, or a crop that was done. So it's really just pretty dadgum amazing. And as always, we still do have some copies of our catalog. They'll go in all of our orders, as well as we did get our new shipment of Gardener's Workshop pens, and those go in all orders along with our catalog. So I've got some flowers here to show to you too. And I mean, we did talk a couple of, maybe 3 weeks ago. So we've been meeting every Sunday evening here. I think this might be the 8th week we were together. And one of those weeks we talked about flower conditioning. Flower conditioning is what you do to flowers after you cut them to help them last as long as possible. And there's nobody that's had more ups and downs with that than me. I just want to reintroduce myself again. My name is Lisa Mason Ziegler, and I'm a commercial flower farmer. I have been since 1998. I'm a small urban farmer. I'm the last commercial farmer in our city, which was once a very large Mennonite farming community. And I'm the last farmer standing, and I started farming in 1998 as really a pretty novice gardener, and just read a book and hit the ground running and just haven't stopped. Found my passion and my dream, and I love what I do every day, but even more than that, I love sharing it and teaching and empowering other people, particularly people that don't have a lot of space and people that don't know anything about either gardening or farming, because if I can do it, anybody can. So several weeks ago, one of our topics was flower conditioning products. And there is no more significant time for us to use flower food and pre-treatments in our water than at this time of the year, particularly here in the Mid-Atlantic, or at least in southeastern Virginia. We've had more than our fair share of rain. We've just hit a dry spell about 7 days ago. And when we're going through all of that rain business, the disease presence just ramps up in the garden, whether it's in zinnias or sunflowers or just in everything. I mean, it's just the perfect conditions for disease to grow in your garden, pretty much no matter what you do. So that's when flower conditioning products really come in and do the job. And I will come back and answer all your questions at the end. I just moved the comments over to the side. And y'all, I wanted to try something. I saw somebody else doing a live and they were able to pin something to the top. So let me see if I can. I'm going to just put Lisa's. Thank y'all for letting me do this. Lisa's link. And I'm going to see if it'll let me pin it. I never knew. See, a lot of these things you can't do until you're live. And so I'm going to post that. And then let me see if I can't. Pin comment. Y'all, I learn something new all the time. So what that means is that the seed, the link to go directly to our seed category on our store is now at the bottom of the comments, which means when somebody new comes on, it's right there, I think. Yep. Awesome. So this is how you learn, y'all, doing it. And I just saw that somebody said, yeah, that's me, no space or knowledge. There is no more rewarding career. There is so many opportunities in growing, whether it's flowers or vegetables, for people. People want local products so bad because the quality is so high that you can do it on a micro scale or you can do it. I mean, my farm, people think I have such a big place. Our whole property is a little less than 3 acres. I've never farmed more than 1.5 acres. And when we were at 1.5 acres, we were producing 15,000 stems of flowers a week, more than any normal person should ever dream of doing. Of course, I had much help, but you can grow a lot on a small space, so don't let that discourage you. So back to the flower conditioning products. So we have had heavy disease issues here on the farm already, and there's no better indicator of that than zinnias. Zinnias are predisposed to all kinds of funky stuff, whether it's mildew, bacteria, and then of course the Japanese beetles just seal the deal this year. They're the worst we've ever had since I've been farming for 22 years. But because, I mean, and we talked about, when we talked about flower conditioning, there's 2 things that I use as whether you're a home gardener or as a flower farmer. And no matter which of those you are, we put the Chrysol CVBN tablets. This is like a chlorine tablet. When you open this up, take a sniff, it smells just like a pool. Because this is a stable chlorine. And what I mean by stable is when you put this in your drop of the pill in a gallon of water, it's present for 72 hours. If you put a splash of Clorox, like a lot of people talk about doing, that's fine and dandy, but it only is there for like 8 to 12 hours. After that, it's gone. So we put one of these pills in every harvest bucket on our farm. And what that does is that means that the first drink that every flower we cut gets a big old drink of bacteria-free water. And the pills will kill some of the, if there is bacteria in the stem, it'll take care of some of that. We leave the flowers sitting in this stuff for at least 4 hours, but up to 3 days. Meaning like we harvest on Monday and then we pack them out on Tuesday. They sit in this stuff overnight, and when they go to our florist, they're in something different. When they go home with our retail customers, that's where flower food, I'm sure y'all have seen the blue packs that you have seen on flowers in the store. We send all of our bouquets home with our customers, the end user, with a flower food packet. And this flower food has 3 components to it. One of them is a biocide. That means it continues that bacteria killing quality like the pre-treat. Pre-treatment has no food in it. That is purely kill the disease, kill the bacteria, no food involved. This has 3 parts. One is the biocide. It keeps up what that pre-treatment did. Then it also has a food part. The food helps to keep the foliage green. If you have flowers that are opening, it helps them to continue that process because they have nutrition, right? The third component is it has a pH balancer in it. And when the water has the proper pH, then it's less likely for the stems to develop, to get water bubbles. And when you get a water bubble in a stem, you know how you know you have it? Have you ever had roses with their heads down? That's exactly, the stems are clogged, and typically it's water bubbles that are in there. So the pH balancer helps to prevent that from happening. So flower food plays a very significant role. You can go to our website. If you sign up for our farm news, you instantly get an article that I wrote called, let's see, Making the Most Out of Your Cut Flowers. It goes into all that information in depth. But flower food makes a huge difference, and this is the time of the year because I want to show you something. So as I said, our zinnia patch, oh my goodness, through those rainy, we had like 3 or 4 week period of just rain and rain and rain, and the disease ramped right up. And we actually didn't cut zinnias for about 10 days because they were just not lasting very long at all. I mean, 2 or 3 days, they would just, we call it meltdown. I mean, they just turned to mush in the vase. So we didn't cut them. Well, then a dry period came, and what happens when this happens to us is I take a test. I cut a bunch of zinnias and put them in my house. I cut them Saturday a week ago. So that was 8. Oh, y'all, hummingbirds, 2 of them. Oh my gosh. They're fighting. If they come back, I'm going to quickly try to turn. They're here on the zinnia. They were on the zinnias here. If they come back, I'm going to just flip the camera so y'all can see them. How cute are they? Anyway, sorry. So I cut them Saturday a week ago and put them in my house so I could watch them. And y'all, pretty miraculous. And the only reason it happened is because we used chlorine tablets. So they aren't nearly as vibrant and gorgeous as they were the day I cut them. But these are 8 days old. And these would not be here today. Oh, y'all, wait. Pretty sweet. And there goes his brother. They're fighting over who's coming over here. Anyway, so we are just living what I have talked about for all these years this year, because these zinnias would not even have been around to be seen today had we not used the process that I just shared with you. So I want to show you, I made 2 bouquets earlier this evening for my husband to take to work tomorrow to his gals. So here are a bunch of the white night and the white light. The light is the yellow-green center, and the night is the brown center. And I just add, they're the smaller. You know, this is the sizes we just absolutely love to have for bouquets. So when I made these up earlier, I thought, this one is really borderline too big for me. This little fella is perfect. And I will tell you, if you're a flower farmer, I found that our commercial customers request. Can't wait till I start having small sunflowers. And then look at this. So I know we've talked about so many sunflowers. This is that New Horizon where the blooms sit more upright. Look at this guy right here. And it just makes a bouquet really, really perfect. So you'll find the sunflower bouquet mix, which is a mix of the orange, the XL orange, which is a deeper orange, Brilliance, and the upright. So it's like a toned orange. This is called orange sunflower mix, and they're the bomb, y'all. And we're waiting. We will have the jumbo packs of all of those mixes, as well as the 2 new mixes before long. So can't wait for you guys to have those. So today, looking in our garden, we're gonna look. So I have not touched it since y'all were here with me last week. So I did not cut anything. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think, that I can see from over here, 6 maybe. Flowers that should have been cut days ago. And I'm going to show you the kind of damage that you will sustain when you don't cut regularly. So before we go over there and look, this is what I really have to draw. One of the reasons that I really wanted to do this kind of sessions with you guys is that most people don't understand that the more you cut, the better your cutting garden gets, because that keeps it fresh and clean, and the flowers continue to come back more and more and more, right? And folks just are really like, oh, but they're so pretty, I don't want to cut them. Well, that's not what a cutting garden is for, right? I mean, you have to get over that. And the more you cut it, the more they come. And so we cut here on our farm twice a week. There was a period in time several years ago when we were doing, oh my goodness, farmers markets and supermarket bouquets in addition to our big florist customers. So we actually harvested 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'll tell you, that's the best my farm ever did, cutting so frequently. But it's not realistic for most of us. I mean, there's just so much other things that have to be done that twice a week is definitely sufficient. But if you're a home gardener, I would cut, I think I hear our hummingbirds again. They're here somewhere. Twice a week is definitely sufficient, but 3 times a week would be really perfect. But if you don't have somewhere for, see, you have to have something to do with those flowers. So that's why doing it twice a week, we would do a Monday and a Thursday is our cutting time. Thursday is weekend flowers, you know, if you're going to share them with somebody, or if you need them for church or going to a party. And the first of the week flowers for your own home. So there's a lot of things to think about, but I just can't hit home enough how significant it is that you cut when your cutting garden needs you to cut, not when you need flowers. And that's where most people just really kind of basically drop the ball. I find that most people can grow a great cutting garden at first, but then they fall off of the wagon of cutting enough. And it's because they're afraid they're not going to come back. They will, and they come back twice as heavy. Each time you cut, it's like they produce more and more. And you know, the joy of, I mean, we've talked about this in the past, and I did want to show, so this is the little cutting garden that we've got planted, and I'll step back here in a minute and y'all get a bigger look. This is the seed collection that we're planted here, except that I swapped out the yellow sunflowers for the white sunflowers, and there is one over here, that one we left last week, and you'll have a look. It was so tight last week, I was afraid to cut it, and it is wide slam open now, way too open to be in the garden, right? So what I really wanted to talk about, in addition to that regular habit of cutting, and it is really a habit, y'all, you know, as my business is growing and changing, and I'm doing so many other wonderful, rewarding things, I'm having to restructure my days. And so for all these years, for the last 22 years, you could set your clock by coming to this farm and seeing what I was doing. On Mondays and Thursdays, we cut flowers. We started at 6 o'clock in the morning and went till about 4 o'clock typically. A crew of people, me and several others. Tuesdays, Suzanne was inside on Monday selling all those flowers we were cutting. On Tuesday, they were delivered to the florist that pretty much cleaned us out. Wednesday was my bookkeeping day. That was my business day. That was the day that I was in my office and did not really do any farm work. Farm work was being done here on the farm, but I wasn't. Thursday, we harvested again. And the Thursday harvest was for our Fridays member-only market as well as our bouquet subscription. And on Friday was the market, and typically my sister would man the market and I would do our bouquet drop-off subscriptions because I also would do business errands that day. And so it's like when Mondays come up, it's like I can't imagine doing anything but harvesting flowers. But all that is changing now as things that I'm focusing on are changing. So what I just want to share with you is if you get in the habit of whatever your available daytime, evening or morning's best in my opinion, but if you have to do in the evening right before sundown can work. It's like you just make a date with your garden and you keep it over and over. Put it on your Google Calendar. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Thursday, whatever it's going to be. And once you get into that, get your groove with it, it'll just be a natural. It's like, oh no, I can't go with you, Susie, right now because I have to go cut my garden quick. And let me tell you, if this little garden is your garden, it'll take you 5 minutes. However, why would you only want to take 5 minutes? Because it's such a delightful little garden. Because one of the best parts of it is the fact that it is so small. Low maintenance, high output if you locate it in the right spot, plant it, water it and feed it. This garden, I will confess, has not been watered at all. We've relied on rain, and it would be a little bit more productive if I had put irrigation over here. So this is the seed collection, and what I hope some of you are coming into right now, as I am, is, I thought I had a bee on me. I am allergic to bees. Is while we give you a jumping off point with the diagram telling you how to do it and all this stuff, after going through your first year, you start figuring out, hey, I planted too much basil. I just don't need that much. First off, the basil is so productive when you cut it the way we demonstrated last week that I know that next year, if I do this garden, I will not have I think there's maybe like 13 or 14 basil plants in here. I will definitely not do that, and I will plant more giant zinnias. So you will kind of find your little groove. Do you love the little zinnias, which are my favorites? Plant more of them, or the lime green zinnias, or coxcomb, or add some plumes, so this little cutting garden kind of like opens the door to the possibilities, right? So don't throw away your diagram. You can apply this concept and mix it up. It's pretty awesome, actually. So you just really need to plant next time. This is kind of like your test cutting garden, right? And then you find what you really want. Like my sister would say, don't you plant any less lemon basil. She loves lemon basil. Our customers love it in their bouquets. They just can't ever have enough of it. I'm just reading my notes here. So I am going to just say again, we so appreciate you guys liking and sharing this broadcast. That's what helps me to do more and more of them. And then more importantly, invite your friends to come next week. And I'll tell you what's coming up. So probably next week will be our last deliberate cutting garden, home cutting garden. We are switching gears, y'all, and we're going to start thinking cool flowers, cool season hardy annuals. We're going to talk about the concept of even those folks that live up in zone 3 and 4, what they should be doing in the fall. I'm going to highlight some of the my favorite cool flowers. I took a photo today, y'all, of the second flush of Limbata Monarda that is so drop dead gorgeous. People just don't grow it. And it is just so beautiful. And it's not like the other bee balms. It's a hardy annual. It's not a perennial. It doesn't take over your garden. So we're going to start getting on the cool flowers freight train, because it'll quickly be time to start preparing and planting. I'll talk about what I'm going to be planting and seed starting and trying to help people through the whole confusion over, do you plant seeds or transplants? And just, I'm not going to teach you what's in the book, and I'm not going to teach you what's in the online class specifically for flower farmers to apply it. It's the connecting all those dots, y'all, because people really struggle. So, with that said, I will say again, you'll get our beautiful catalog, and you can find at thegardenersworkshop.com all the seeds, all the supplies, the silage tarps that are on sale till midnight tonight, July 5th. We will not extend that special because we've sold too many of them already. I mean, we've moved all of those that we had hoped to move, but we will honor it until midnight if we still have them in stock. The seed shipping, I'm paying the shipping on seed-only orders till the end of July, and the no-till micro-scale flower farming online course with Jonathan and Megan, which is awesome, is $40 off until, I think it's July 15th, y'all. It's $159 regularly. It's on special for $119. And I will tell you that Jonathan and Megan host a closed Facebook group for their students. And that's how you can ask questions. It's really pretty awesome. So, I don't know why I was picking those up. All right, gang. And so, I just want to give you one more gander. Look at these gorgeous sunflowers. I mean, look how they glow. Y'all, there's a reason that sunflowers will never go out of style, right? All right. Love my little handy-dandy flower caddy. You'll find that on, where is that? Under supplies. All right, y'all. So, first things first. Let me fix this base so I can, lift it up. Sorry, y'all. All right, so I'm going to turn you around. That was kind of special getting to see a couple of my hummingbirds. That's pretty awesome. So let's turn around and have a little look-see. So this is, for those of you that have never joined us before, that little building is has been here on the farm. It was a cottage. I now use it as a potting shed. And this is the 3x10 bed, but actually we split it in half, as you can see, because it just frames the inn. It's called the inn because back in the day it was a cottage when people would come and needed a place to stay. So that was really special. So there's the cutting garden. And we're going to walk up, and I want to show you damaged flowers purely because they were left in the garden too long. And I'm telling y'all, I get this question all the time. And the finches will eat your stuff. Y'all, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to make this shorter. All right, sorry. Whoop, but I didn't close it. There you go. So look at this guy. This was a beautiful zinnia just yesterday or the day before. See all those petals? The finches are pulling them out looking for seed. And look at all those petals from these beautiful guys. That one is cleaned, and they've worked on that one. Here is a perfect stage, in my opinion. I love them before the yellow stamens pop. So I'm going to cut all of these, and then I'm going to lay them on the ground. I'm going to toss the trashed ones. So the point is, what I might do, you know how the first cut we saw last week, the first cut establishes branching, and I might, looking at this, you can see the netting is on here, the flower support netting, which we had some torrential downpours like 10 days ago, and our garden would have been in the dirt had it not been netted. So I'm going to make the cut right here above several side shoots. And you'll see here in just a moment, actually now that I've undone this, I'm going to actually put y'all just like we did last time. I'm going to let you just see what I'm doing. Y'all, I really do need a camera girl. Stand by. There we go. So I'm going to let you guys, I'm just going to cut these right quickly. And let's see what you guys will be able to see. So, and I'll let you guys see the stems. I'm just trying to find a flat place to like put you. That's not very good, is it? So I'm going to cut everything, and I didn't bring my darn gloves again this week. So I am going, see here, look at all that I cut off. And this is trash, right? This one has already been picked apart. But the reason is, and actually I probably could have cut this and left that in there. But I left 6 shoots down there. That's what's going to establish planting. And when I do this on the other side, I'll let you guys be down there with me. So I'm just cutting these off and getting rid of them. And this just refreshes the garden. See, that only because I did not harvest it on time. I'm saying all this because it is essential, folks. I get the questions all the time that, you know, there's spots on my flowers. There's the finches are eating my flowers, and it's all because we're leaving them too long. And then I'll let you guys, we'll look at doing some basil here. I'm actually going to keep this one. Isn't he gorgeous? So I would have had, you know, a nice handful. And I'm cutting this pretty hard because these, and see, when you cut as they're ready, that means the plants start growing. So I'm kind of cutting the garden pretty clean, right? Because I left stuff in too long. So if these had been cut, you know, last Monday when they should have been cut, then we would have had a lot of regrowth already. And green ones, oh my goodness, y'all, we really have to cut them early. So look at this. And y'all, I'm just really trashing all these. These are already a little too dirty. See how you see that right here? All that stuff. We really like for them to look more like, kind of like this. A little bit tighter, and that's because of green. Green and white. You know, I talked about earlier that we cut the green and white a lot earlier than we do other colored flowers. I'll put you back here. So I'm just going to take you off the stand for just a minute, and I'm going to take you in there with me and let you see where I'm cutting. Now, see, these are the Oklahomas. The smaller zinnias, which actually happen to be some of my favorite. And isn't this funny? This is the mix. Look at that. They're all yellow. There's a pink one. Yep, almost all yellow. Isn't that interesting? Huh. Usually it seems to be mostly pinks. But anyway, so I'll take you down here with me. We're going to make our cut. Let me show you. See, we already made the old Japanese beetle damage. See the cut right there? And look at all these branches. Well, 1, 2, 3. What's that one? 3 of these big blooms that we saw at the top are from this plant. So these guys are past time too, really. We could still use them. But I'm going to cut them. And when you're cutting side shoots, I just go all the way down. I'm going to get rid of these leaves so you can see. All right, made them naked. So when I'm cutting side shoots like this, I just come in here and make the cut, and that's where the next sprouts are going to come from. What else do we need to cut this one? So those could be kept. They're pretty decent. And many of these are actually, see, you can see here, see where we cut that before, and you can see there's mildew over here too. And look at all these shoots that are coming along. So those guys, these are all side shoots. I'm just looking, trying not to cut my finger off. Looking through the, oh, I cut the wrong one. Shouldn't have done that. Let's go over here and look. I love them when they're like this, y'all. And you know, when you cut zinnias, they don't develop any further. That's it. They're not going to open anymore. So this really is at a perfect stage too. See how there's still some to open, but they're not going to open anymore. But I love that look. So let's cut this guy. So what I'm thinking when I'm cutting is I'm thinking, let me get all, I'm trying to see where this one is. What I'm thinking is the minute I get rid of these old stems, then that makes room for the new ones. I mean, all these little guys that are down here. I mean, look at this little guy. He's pretty hot. His head's over because it was a very, very, very scorcher of a day here. So these other guys will just jump. We're really stripping this garden, y'all. And again, when you do this like you're supposed to, 2 to 3 times a week, then you won't clear cut the garden. Here's another finch because it was left in the garden too long. And I want to tell you a little story about sometimes if someone will say, well, I am cutting them one time, but the finches are still getting them. Well, if the finches are getting them, then you need to cut earlier. I'd rather cut this than to have no flower at all, right? So here's one that we haven't cut yet, a first cut. So here, I'm going to cut right above all those side shoots. And this is what I cut. So there's the pink one. And I will strip all that stuff off. If you want to see more on stripping last week's, you can find it on Facebook. We don't take them down. All of them are on there. Now look at this. This is that sunflower from last week that was, remember how tight it was? And now it's old. See how how can I show you this? See how it's popped? I'm going to bring up one of the good ones. Let's look at these white. Let's compare them, y'all. So look at that guy. And then look at this one. I'm going to pull him out of there. Trying to think. Y'all, I really need a camera person. Here. Look at this. When you look at this from the side, I mean, there's just no length to the disc. When you look at the side of this one, you can see they're just developing seeds. That's what the problem is. And that's because it sat out in the garden too long. So I left it here for you guys to see that. However, pretty impressive. There's no Japanese beetle damage to the petals, which is miraculous, considering that I see 2 Japanese beetles down here. So the story I wanted to tell you was that sometimes you just have to make a choice about, there's a Japanese beetle right there on the coxcomb. Goner. We grow Silver Queen sweet corn, and it's kind of a big tradition with our family. I mean, my husband's grandpa used to grow it here. This is his homestead. And we looked at corn yesterday, and he said, I think that it might be ready. So we picked just enough for dinner, like 8 or 10 ears, because it was borderline. And one of the ears was perfect. The others weren't quite ready yet. You know, they were good. We ate them, but they weren't as plump as they should be. And so this morning I said, are we going to pick corn again today? take some over to your mom's. And he said, well, I'd rather just wait another day. And I said, well, you know, we aren't the only ones waiting on the corn. The raccoons and the squirrels are, you know, checking it every night. So even though we felt like it was a little bit too early, it would be better if we could wait 2 more days. We didn't pick it all, but we picked more for us for dinner and some for his mom. And we would rather have it not be as perfect as we want. Look at this little guy. This, I believe, Rhonda, if you're on here, speak. I believe that's a shield bug, which is in the stink bug family, but it's a good stink bug. See how he's got points right there on the corner? Right there? That's the difference. If you look at regular bad stink bugs, they do not have the points. So this guy eats other bad bugs and is often mistaken for a regular stink bug. And I think I'm right about that. But if Rhonda's on here, she is our bug expert here on the farm, because she'll look it up and verify. But and you know, the other thing is regular stink bugs would have run for their life by now. These guys don't. So it's kind of like, you know, if you were having a heavy pest damage, I might cut that one today instead of waiting 2 more days and letting it get more developed, right? So you just kind of have to make really choices over cutting, and that will change with time and the stage that you are, this time of year. I mean, we have the strongest pest damage or pressure that we have had in years this year. And we also have more pollinators. We just have more insects, period. And we feel like here it's because we had a really mild winter and a cool, long, moist spring. So it was really good for everybody, except for warm season annuals. But everybody else is just really, really doing well. So see how much basil there is? That big green glob and that big green glob. And I'm actually going to cut that when I get off here, because we'll use that in our bouquets tomorrow for our subscriptions. So I'm going to really cut it down. But let's look. I know that we cut the centers out of, not that one. There's one. So look, see that stump right there? And look at this beautiful side shoot. Basil is so productive that the moral to my story is that when you either pinch in the tray or center cut, this looks like, look at this. This is a great lesson. All right. This one, this one, this one. Sorry, y'all. Hang tight. All that you see in my hand are all the side shoots. They're huge. Look at them. But look down here of what's to come. Trying to get all these leaves out of your way. Look at all those sprouts. That's why it's so important to cut deep, because you want these shoots to come from the base of the plant. So this basil has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stems that should be cut now, and it has 1, 2, 3, as I would say, are in the oven. They'll shoot up in no time. And then all of those babies down there. So I think the reality is, for me, in this small cutting garden, 5 basil plants would be really, really sufficient. So gang, I thank everybody for joining us, and remember to please like and share this broadcast. Invite your friends. Next week we'll kind of close in. Next week when you come, this garden will really be bare, because I'm going to really cut it hard. Because I'm not maintaining it, like cutting it twice a week, it'll take it a couple of weeks to revive. But we are going to be jumping in week after next into cool flowers. And it's almost time to start thinking about where are you going to plant them, making your plans of preparing space, getting your supplies and seeds lined up so you have them on hand. And because I will tell you that cool flowers, if you're not growing cool season hardy annuals, many of us can fall plant, but even if you're in zone 3 or 4, you may not be planting a lot of stuff in the fall, even though there are things. We'll be sharing. We have a student in Montana that sent us some gorgeous photos of her snapdragons and things. So cool flowers can be applied no matter where you live. You just perhaps plant it on a different timing, and we're going to talk about that. But even if you're not fall planting, you still need to prepare your garden for cool flowers, especially if you live in the really, really cold regions, because you won't be able to prepare when it is the proper planting time, because it'll be frozen, covered in snow perhaps, or iced. And the minute that gets thawed enough to plant, you need to be able to plug your stuff in the ground. And you can do it. There's people doing it. So I just really want to encourage everybody to keep after your cutting garden at least twice a week. And I'll give you a little tip. See all those yellow flowers in front of the end? That's a perennial called Heliopsis, and it is cuttable, but we don't cut it. We planted it here for a family wedding 2 years ago, and it is just so beautiful. And but I have to deadhead it. This is real, and there's a Japanese beetle. We'll have another on camera killing of bugs. Tons of native pollinators here, y'all. Lots of different native bees. But one of the things that I've learned, even though because I don't cut them, there's lots of old flowers. Like you can see, that's an old flower. This is getting old. But as these stems start to sag down, when I came, see all the flowers on the ground? When I came out here, these were all leaning into the steps so much. By just deadheading strategically, oftentimes that is enough to make a stem lift back up, especially if it's a heavy head. Like these ones that are developing seed. And I leave some. I only do this to like the outside flowers. Leave them for the birds and the pollinators. But it helps to lift them up. You don't have to do a whole lot of other. Let's see what we got here. There he is. And I love cutting them and seeing the stems lift. You know, it's like what you're doing is really, really making a really big difference. Like this one is pretty much done. And I mean, it's very addictive. It's kind of like sowing sunflowers, right? But deadheading strategically on flowers that you might not be cutting can help them stay in better shape. Look at this guy. Let's see if we can help him up. He's not going to go very much. He's been hit by the lawnmower, I can tell. But sometimes I'll just take a stick with a V in it, way back in there, and prop him up. But just sometimes strategically clipping will really make a big difference. Not only does that help encourage future blooms, but just makes it look a lot nicer. And I'll tell you, it is one of the greatest therapies, and it is very beautiful when you stay on top of it. So this is a great plant. 2 different kinds, by the way. This is the single. I cannot remember their names. That one's new hybrid. So gang, I just encourage you to keep sowing sunflowers and stay after your cutting garden. And I hope that we'll meet again next week. Please like and share. Sign up for our news. Don't forget our seed sale for the month of July. Free shipping on seed orders. Tarps are on special, and the no-till course. So, y'all, till we meet again, and I'm glad you got to see the hummingbird. That was really pretty cool. I appreciate everybody. See ya next time. Ciao.